All right, today we're going to do a fecal flotation test, and we'll talk about using the centrifuge and doing what's called a simple fecal flotation as well. So the first thing that we're going to do when we're working with anybody's poop is make sure you're wearing your gloves. You do want to think of poop as potentially infectious because it is or can be, and you never know until you can safely, hopefully, say they don't have something that could get you ill as well. So wear your gloves, okay? Not an option. Yes, you can wash your hands, of course, but wear your gloves. So first we'll talk about supplies that we need to do a simple flotation with or without a centrifuge. The supplies are the same except for, of course, having a centrifuge available for you. So we have a tube. We have just these conical tubes that we like to use here. So this is very common to see. We also have our fecal flotation solution. We have two different kinds in the lab. For the most part, it is a preference on the clinic on which one you'll carry, but we have our sugar med solution that we'll use as our fecal solution. We have a little stick that we're going to use to make our poop soup. We have a microscope slide, and we have some cover slips that will help us with this test as well. And of course, we have our sample. So your textbook says for the simple flotation with or without a centrifuge, the amounts of sample are the same. 2 to 5 grams of poo is what you're going to want to have. Again, I kind of just like to use the fingernail reference. My pinky nail probably is going to be enough of a sample to run both of these tests. So the first thing you're going to do, of course, with your gloved hands is put your sample into your conical tube. So I have a little bit of poop here. In this glove, and we'll add a little bit more. This is frog poop we're going to do. So we really just want to put our sample into the tube. That looks like about enough. Looks like about enough poop in there. And then we're going to add 30 mils approximately, I think is what your textbook says, of the fecal solution. So I'm just going to kind of fill it up to about, a little over 2/3, I guess. And then I'm going to make a poop soup. So you can see we've got the poop suspended in the fecal solution, and you just want to break that up. Okay, you want to break up your poop soup. Now, in your textbook for both of these techniques, using the centrifuge or not, what is ideal is after you make the poop soup, you put it through some kind of strainer. You put the soup through some kind of strainer. And that strainer can be as simple as just a piece of gauze to kind of strain out any big chunks that might make reading the sample difficult. Okay, so you can see really getting it broke down here. We want to really get the sample all the way mixed, all the way through the solution. It's starting to go down to the bottom there, and just keep mixing. Okay, we generally don't strain here. I never strained in clinical practice, but it is not a bad idea, especially if you have a very dense or thick sample with big chunks. Okay, so that's probably pretty good for my poop soup for now. So with a simple centrifuge, or excuse me, a simple fecal flotation, what we would do is just go ahead and fill up the tube the rest of the way. And we would put our cover slip on it, and we'd let it sit for about 10 to 20 minutes. At that point, you remove your cover slip, place it on your slide, go read it at the microscope. But what we generally like to do in lab here is use the centrifuge. So what we would do at this point, once we have our poop soup thoroughly mixed up in our tube, we'd go ahead and take this over to the centrifuge, and we'd spin it down for about 5 minutes. When we take it out of the centrifuge, at that point, we will add the remainder of our fecal solution. We're doing this carefully, using the side of the tube to help get the fluid in, because I do not want to disrupt any eggs that may have risen to the top during the centrifugation process. Once we've filled the tube and it's at the very top there, you can kind of see a little bit of a meniscus. That's where you're going to place your little cover slip. Okay, after it centrifuges for 5 minutes, it's going to sit with a cover slip for 10 minutes. After that, you remove the cover slip, place it on your slide, take it over to your microscope. So this is how you would perform a basic fecal flotation with or without the centrifuge.